Well, as we heard earlier, an operation by the National Clean Audit Task Team has led to the arrest of the Director General in the previous office in KwaZulu-Natal. The chairperson of Mhlathuze Water Board reported allegations of irregular appointment of service without following the supply chain management protocols of the Mhlathuze Water Board. For more on that story, we're joined by CEO of the South African Water Chamber, Benoit. Good evening, Benoit. Thanks for your time tonight. Of course, these water boards are absolutely essential when it comes to the provision of bulk water services across the country. It really is the difference between what one gets when they open their taps and whether water comes out or not.
Good evening, Kathy. Yes. So, roughly half of our water is produced by the water boards that are owned by the Department of Water Sanitation. And they provide that link of purifying the water and then delivering through bulk lines through to the end client, which is generally a city or water service authority, which in turn then reticulates it to industry, commerce, and to the end user. We have some cities and some metros that are not dependent on water boards, so Nelson Mandela Bay and City of Cape Town, for example. They have an integrated system because of location only. But we also have an issue where these water boards have struggled. The smaller ones have struggled, and Mhlathuze is considered as one of the smaller ones. And that was announced already, I think, last week, that it will be incorporated to Mgani Water. But in the Water Summit I think it was in February or March this year, the minister in workshops, it was discussed that the smaller water boards would be incorporated into the larger ones, and that we would have wall-to-wall water boards, across South Africa. Just to look at the sustainability. So from a sustainability perspective, there are issues there apart from supply chain management issues.
When you talk about just some of the work that has been coming out of the department, the minister also is speaking about a need for what seems like a wholesale review on the functionality of these boards and whether in their current structure they're actually serving their purpose to the ultimate effect. Is there any update in terms of how far that process is?
We haven't seen any, although there's the collapse of Mhlathuze into Mgani, and then there's, I think it's a Sedibeng water board in the northwest Northern Cape into Bloem Water. That's also been announced. But these utilities have a strange setup because globally, normally utility looks after the raw water, be it dam, groundwater, desalination. It then produces the bulk, delivers the bulk, and invoices and reticulates and invoices the end user. In South Africa, we have a very split system. So, to embark on that journey is going to be, I think, quite a difficult process and takes a bit of time. So what we're seeing on the first step, we're going to get a full water supply chain, water utility in the true sense of it. And I think these are the first steps.
Let's talk about then the dangers that lie ahead for the country if we continue to have these boards being dysfunctional, especially around matters of procurement, Benoit, because that speaks directly to the kind of work that is going into the infrastructure itself.
Yes, so I think the supply chain management issues that we have across all of our infrastructure, basic services, and sectors. So that issue is not specific or endemic to water, so to speak. So what we need to do from a water perspective is simplify those, and Treasury is really the oversight ministry there. And I think we're starting to see it's a centralization to an extent where the National Infrastructure Agency, for example, is being set up, and then the DBSA has also got, the Development Bank of Southern Africa has also got a program office to address some of these initiatives, whereby the lack of capacity in the smaller and the medium and semi-rural towns and authorities are now collapsed into a national, rollout so that they can be capacitated. Because I think part of the problem is that a lot of our government institutions in the water sector are not able to, and the minister said 99%, I think he was overstating it. I think it's probably closer to 60-70%. Look at Blue and Green Drop report, where the water board, the water service authority, or the metro, the town, the city is not able to actually contract adequately. And we see the malfeasance taking place where there's these grey areas and the like. So between Treasury through DBSA and the National Infrastructure Agency, which is what was TCTA being rolled up, do that with greater powers, I think we're going to see a new architecture where a lot of these capacity-related issues and malfeasance issues can be programmatically addressed. So what goes for the one goes for the other 144 water service authorities. That work is busy happening. So I think this year we're going to see a lot of it. It's not really a talk shop. A lot of it is happening. And we do have the eThekwini crisis at the moment where 20 billion rand is needed, for example, that's been mentioned, to rebuild. And until that money arrives, nothing's going to happen. The only people who have that money is the private sector. So now we have to engage with the private sector, and this is where our organization comes in, and find ways that we can have equitable contracting with both sides of the contracting able to negotiate what is the best deal in the end for the end user. And I believe strongly that competition will actually drive a lot of efficiencies because the private sector is generally speaking efficient. It's not perfect, but it is efficient. And we're seeing there's great pull within government to do this in the water sector, in the energy sector. So we're really at a crossroad at the moment. So I think I don't think we should have panic stations. I think we need to keep on top of our fingers on the pulse. I think we're entering a new dawn when it comes to water and energy.
You know, I'm going to wrap it up here, Benoit. Often we talk about electricity and power cuts and the crisis and the impact that has on the economy. We don't use the same language when we talk about water, and yet we know that it can bring economic activity to an absolute standstill.
Yes, it is the fundamental economic lubricant. So we can last without energy, not nicely. With water, 48 hours, we're gone, we're history. So, and water is only one form of it, really. And energy, there's many forms of it. So from oil to gas to renewables and the likes. But water's water. It's it's H2O. There's different qualities of it. So water is a far greater risk to the country, and it hasn't been treated that way. But I think, especially with the help of the media, I think we're starting to see that water is as important, if not more important, than energy.
All right, the CEO of the South African Water Chamber, Benoit Leroy.